You've cancelled plans 3 times this week, and the guilt is eating you alive. But what if I told you that guilt was planted there by people who profit from your exhaustion? What if staying home isn't your weakness, it's your survival instinct finally working? If you've ever felt safer in your living room than anywhere else, what I'm about to reveal will either validate everything you've suspected or shatter the lie you've been living. Don't look away. My dad always said, "There's nothing good going on after 10 p.m. For years, I thought he was just old-fashioned. But he was right, not because the world becomes dangerous at 10, but because after that hour, what's happening isn't connection. It's people performing, running from silence, masking chaos as fun. He understood something I didn't. The best parts of life don't require you to abandon your peace to find them. Some people feel most alive in the quiet corners of their own homes. They don't crave validation from strangers or the noise of crowded streets. Instead, they find richness in familiar walls, in stillness, in the glow of a single lamp at 2 a.m. To outsiders, they might look like they're hiding from life, but they're not hiding. They're protecting something the outside world will steal if given the chance: sovereignty over their own energy. Here's what they don't tell you in research papers. People who love staying home have highly active internal landscapes. Their thoughts are complex, their emotions run deep, their imagination creates meaning without external stimulation. Psychologists call this high internal self-presence, the ability to feel more connected to your inner world than outer chaos. But this isn't just a personality preference, it's a survival mechanism. And if you have it, there's a reason. This isn't about introversion in the shallow way people use the word online. It's closer to what Carl Jung originally meant. Jung said introversion isn't about being shy, it's about where your energy goes. Some people naturally direct their energy inward. They recharge through reflection, imagination, and quiet thinking. Too much external stimulation doesn't excite them, it drains them. For those people, home isn't isolation, it's restoration. Think about it. Who gets upset when you cancel plans? Who guilts you for choosing solitude? Who says you're changing or not fun anymore? Those people aren't worried about your happiness. They're worried about losing access to what you provide. Your energy, your attention, your validation, your light. Home isn't where you avoid life. Home is where you refuse to be consumed by people who mistake your presence for permission. If you're someone who loves staying home, you probably tried to be different once. You matched the energy of friends who thrived at parties. You pushed yourself to say yes when your body screamed no. You showed up, smiled, performed, then came home feeling emptier than when you left. Hollowed out, like something was taken that you couldn't name. Here's the question nobody asks. What if that feeling was accurate? What if something was taken? The first time I gave myself permission to stay home without guilt, I thought it would feel like failure. Instead, I felt full for the first time in years. I didn't need applause to feel alive. I valued the sound of turning pages more than forced laughter. That's when I understood peace isn't passive. Peace is actively choosing to stop letting the world feed off you. But here's what society won't tell you. Staying home means doing something most people are terrified of: being with yourself. Truly with yourself. Not scrolling, not distracting, just sitting in your own presence and finding it enough. And that terrifies the external world, because if you don't need them to feel complete, they lose control over you. Think about every message that tried to make you feel bad for staying in. Every guilt trip. Every "you're missing out." Those aren't expressions of concern. Those are control mechanisms, and the moment you recognize them as such, everything changes. People who prefer staying home share one trait: discernment. They think deeply because they've been burned by thinking shallowly. They feel emotions fully because numbing stopped working. They've realized something fundamental. The world keeps moving because it's running from something, and they've decided to stop running. Studies show people who enjoy solitude score higher in creativity, empathy, and emotional intelligence. But let's talk about why. Not because they were born special, because they had to develop these skills to survive environments that didn't value them. Their empathy became radar for danger. Their creativity became a coping mechanism. Their emotional intelligence became armor. These aren't gifts. These are adaptations. And if you have them, ask yourself, what was I adapting to? So let me ask you this. If home feels so safe, what are you really protecting yourself from? And why does staying home feel like rebellion, when it should feel like a basic human right? Here's the truth that makes people uncomfortable. You're not protecting yourself from the world. You're protecting yourself from the version of you the world demands. The performative version. The always available version. The never quite enough version. The world needs you small, scattered, and seeking. Because the moment you find fulfillment within your own four walls, you stop being a consumer. You stop being controllable. You stop feeding the machine. And let's talk about what nobody wants to admit. Sometimes staying home is the best way to keep the money you're working so hard to make. We leave the comfort of our homes, work all day, give everything we have to jobs that drain us. And then society tells us that now, when we're running on fumes, is when we should spend money we barely have to be around people we barely like, doing things we don't actually enjoy. It's a trap, a perfectly designed economic trap. They want you tired, broke, and desperate for the weekend to mean something, so you spend, you perform recovery instead of actually recovering. You convince yourself that spending money on experiences is investing in happiness, but most of those experiences are designed to keep you empty enough to come back next weekend. Staying home isn't cheap. Staying home is financially intelligent. It's recognizing that the comfort you're searching for at the bar, at the restaurant, at the event, it already exists in the space you've been conditioned to escape from. For years, I thought I was alone in this, but I'm not, and neither are you. If you felt this exact way, if any of this is landing, leave a comment right now. Tell me one thing. Just say, I feel this, or share your story, because there are thousands of people here who understand. People who get that telling friends and family, I'm in the middle of my goals and I don't have time for the external noise everyone else is chasing. Isn't antisocial. It's clarity. It's boundaries. It's choosing your future over their validation. Let's talk about trust. People who love staying home don't give their heart to just anyone. They've seen what happens when they do. They feel everything so intensely that one betrayal feels like 10, so they choose carefully. They build walls not to keep everyone out, but to keep the wrong people out. Here's the pattern. Sensitive people attract takers. Always have, always will. Because takers can smell empathy like blood in water. They find people who feel deeply, care intensely, give freely, and they drain them until there's nothing left. Staying home isn't avoidance. Staying home is pattern recognition. It's your system saying, I've learned. I'm not doing that again. Sometimes, staying home is about this. You've realized most people are lying. They say they want deep connection but can't handle your depth. They say they value authenticity but punish you for being real. So you stopped playing the game. You stopped pretending shallow feels good. You stopped forcing yourself into spaces that require you to shrink. That's not antisocial. That's self-preservation with eyes wide open. They measure happiness in moments, not events. They've stopped letting other people define what success looks like. Because society's version of a good life is exhausting by design. It keeps you chasing, spending, seeking, never arriving. But when you find satisfaction in stillness, you've broken the code. Here's the secret they rarely say out loud. They love deeply. They care quietly. They notice everything. And that's exactly why they learn to stay home. Because when you see everything, you can't unsee it. You see the manipulation in casual conversation, the performance in authenticity, the transaction beneath connection. You see how many people are running from themselves and demanding you run with them, and you can't, not anymore. If you're someone who loves staying home, you haven't felt misunderstood. You felt correctly understood by people who needed you confused. You questioned your personality because people who benefit from your doubt convinced you it was broken. You asked if something's wrong because the world profits from your insecurity. But let me tell you with absolute clarity, nothing is wrong with you. You've simply woken up to something most people spend their entire lives avoiding. You've realized the emperor has no clothes, that the party isn't that fun, that the connection is mostly performance, that most people are strangers to themselves, and they want you to be a stranger to yourself too, because your self-awareness threatens their denial. The world needs more people like you. People who listen before speaking because they've learned words are often weapons. People who think before acting because they've seen the cost of impulsivity. People who feel before pretending because numbness is death in slow motion. People who love staying home aren't avoiding life. They're avoiding the simulation of life. They want meaning, authenticity, real connections, even if few, and they're willing to have none rather than accept counterfeit. This isn't about labeling yourself as introvert, HSP, or empath. This is about recognizing a pattern. The world is built for distraction, and staying home is an act of resistance. Your preference for solitude isn't a personality type to be managed. It's intelligence recognizing that most of what you've been told is a good life is actually slow death. Staying home isn't about fear. It's about honoring what your nervous system is screaming at you. Rest is radical in a culture of exhaustion. Stillness is rebellion in an empire of motion. Silence is power in a world addicted to noise. These are the conditions where you stop being who they need you to be and start becoming who you actually are. You might be at home more than others, but your life is not paused. You're living right now, in the only way that feels true. You are observing, healing, becoming, and because you feel deeply, you love deeply. If someone is in your life, they matter. You give them loyalty, gentleness, attention the distracted world forgot was possible. You are not strange for loving the comfort of home. You are awake. You are not unambitious. You've stopped chasing goals designed to keep you running. You are not fragile. You're protected. You are not missing out on life. You're refusing to participate in the performance of life while everyone else films it for validation they'll never feel. You're building a life that doesn't exhaust you because you've realized exhaustion was the point. A life that reflects your values, not values sold to you by people who profit from your compliance. And one day, when the world outside aligns with your inner truth, you will step out. Not because you're forced to, but because you choose to. From overflow, not from emptiness seeking to be filled. Until then, keep sipping your coffee slowly. Keep discovering worlds inside your mind more interesting than anything trending. Keep protecting your peace like it's the most valuable thing you own, because it is. Keep your money in your pocket and your energy in your body. Both are currencies the world wants to extract. And staying home is how you keep them yours. Because people who love staying home aren't the ones missing out. They're the ones who stopped falling for the lie that life happens somewhere else. They realized home isn't a place. Home is what happens when you finally stop abandoning yourself for people who were never going to choose you anyway. And if you're still here, if every word landed somewhere you didn't know was waiting, then what comes next will change everything. There's a reason you read people so easily. The reason you've always felt like you're playing a different game than everyone else. The next video explains why your sensitivity was never a weakness. It was a threat to people who needed you manageable. Once you understand that, you'll never see yourself the same way again. You're ready. Watch it now.